بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. لله تبارك وتعالى. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. I praise Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and I ask Him to raise the status of Sayyidina Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his family, his companions, and all those who follow them in excellence until the day of judgment. Let me return the greetings to all of you who said Assalamu alaikum to me, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Let me ask you to do several things. I'm trying to reach as many people with this knowledge as possible. And I would like you to share in that with me. So do two things. Number one, please share this session. So everyone, this is your way to spread knowledge. In addition to what you may already do yourself, you can have a partnership in that by pressing the share button. So we ask everyone to please share this session. The more that you do that, the more people who are able to learn what you're learning. And you will be counted among the teachers of beneficial knowledge. And none of us should fall short in that. Why? Because we don't know which deed Allah is going to accept from us. Maybe all of the other deeds that we are counting on are rejected, and the one we're paying no attention to is the one that's accepted. Allahu A'lam. Allah knows best. So let us do everything we can do to be counted among the successful who adhere to the saying of the Prophet ﷺ when he said what means convey for me, even if it's one saying, بَلِّغُ عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. I want to say something because something was sent to us. I don't know if it was last night or this morning. I was too tired. But whenever we feel obligated to enjoying what is right and forbid what is wrong, try our best to take ourselves out of it. Really, really do things for the sake of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Try your best. Sometimes it's difficult because the nafs, which we're talking about, always has its portion or tries to get its portion. And it really ruins the whole deed. This is about us being a winner on the day of judgment, not us winning in some worldly or self-interest, right? It's not about that. So even when we have to explain that a matter is incorrect, It should not bring us joy that we even telling someone this is incorrect. It should sadden us that people are misguided or mistaken or fall into disbelief. It shouldn't be something that we look forward to do, right? We do it because it's a religious obligation, right? And we try to clarify the truth. But we don't want ourselves to take joy in that. When the nation of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked at the condition of his nation, he was concerned, right? All the time, a genuine concern. There is no joy in pointing out other people's mistakes. You shouldn't find joy in that. Or rejoicing at someone else's misfortune. You shouldn't find joy in that. Or picking apart someone's mistakes. Even if it becomes necessary to do that, it should only be done to the extent necessary to remove the evil and nothing more. Right? And all of us should be reminded of that. Right? But sometimes it's difficult because the nafs get in it and you want to have your portion. It's not about you. Is this point clear? Because sometimes I think we make a mistake in that. I remember one of my opponents who we disagree on creedal issues. But where many other issues we write on the same page. But in the creed, we differ. He said something to me that I'll never forget. I won't never forget it. I hope I don't, because it was a life lesson. And he wasn't talking to me. He was talking about people from his own creedal ideology that he differed with and how they go about things. So he said, talking to another person, the person said, yeah, that deviant, I have to refute him. And he said, I said to him, why do you have to refute him? Can't somebody else do it? Why does it have to be you? And that stuck with me, right? In other words, get yourself out of it. It don't have to be you. You may write, it may have to be done. Someone might have to, can't you tell someone else to do it? Why do you have to do it? I never forgot that. That was very strong to me. And it came from someone who we differ totally in creed, but he was making an example to me about how we should be. We shouldn't look forward to criticizing each other. And that was a deep point. It stuck with me, you know? We shouldn't look forward to that. It shouldn't bring us joy to see someone in misguidance, away from the right way. That shouldn't make us happy. It should sadden us. Really, it should. So please, 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 do your best to look for good for people and be sad when misfortune befalls people instead of guidance. Don't rejoice over people's misfortunes. And don't let your nafs trick you into religiously being an evil person. Don't let your nafs, don't let your ego, your lower self, trick you into being a religious evil person. And what I mean by that is that you cover your evil with religion, with religiosity, but you're really evil. Watch, your nafs will trick you like that. Watch it. For all of us, there's something we should pay attention to. Now, so we reached up to page 104. That's just some advice for myself and for you, because I see it's abundant among us. People take joy at the other's misfortune, right? So we should be careful, and we shouldn't be like that. And in addition to that, if you keep this in mind, it'll make it easy. People don't see things the way you may see them. And people only act at the level of their understanding. And levels of understanding are given by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So if you keep that in mind, it will make it easier for you. People only can work at their level of understanding. And because you understand something one way, that don't mean everyone else is going to see it your way. Right? And we just pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides all of us to that which is right, while realizing some of us are not going to be guided. But that doesn't mean we give up. We still try to, in the best way, clarify. So we reached up to page 104 in our book with the statement of Sayyidina Muhyiddin ibn Arabi radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Let us begin with Al-Fatiha to the soul of the author. Naam, go ahead.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. The author, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on him, said, Muhyiddin ibn Arabi, rahimahullah, said in his book, The Meccan Revelations, in the section on spiritual rigors, solitary retreats, spiritual struggles, and their effects. When the intellects of the people of faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saw that Allah ta'ala ordered them to know Him after having already known Him by way of discursive proofs, they came to realize that there is yet another type of knowledge regarding Allah ta'ala that is not reached by contemplative thought. As a consequence, they engage in
When we look at, and this is important, all of us should take a portion of observing our surroundings and the creation and drawing lessons from that point us towards the Creator. That's something we should have. You should observe the universe and everything in it as a sign and an indication that points to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and His oneness.
As a consequence, they engaged in acts of spiritual rigor, solitary retreats, spiritual struggles, severing the binding day to day habits, being alone and sitting with Allah Ta'ala in empty spaces, and purifying the heart from bad thoughts.
Sitting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is obviously doesn't mean that you're in a location and Allah is with you. That's obvious. So sitting with Allah, meaning you are alone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without other uh, distractions from the creation. That's what is intended. So the word is figurative. It's not meant literally. Mm.
For everything attached to such thoughts are related to the created world. They took this path from the prophets and messengers, and they heard that the real Azza wa Jal, Allah Ta'ala, descends to his servants and treats them kindly. Therefore, they came to know
Descent
that
does not mean literal. What is meant is the descent of Allah's mercy and majestic downpourings of Allah's gifts. That is called a nuzul. Mm.
there
Because Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is not attributed with movement or rest. These are attributes of created things that cannot be attributed to the Creator, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mm.
Therefore, they came to know that the path to him by way of him is closer to him than the path of mere contemplative thought.
Mm-hmm.
This is a must for the people of faith, for they have come to know the statement of the exalted: He who comes to me walking, I shall come to him running, and that
Here, meaning, and all of these are figurative speech that indicates the speed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala approaching his servant through his mercy, through his blessing, through his forgiveness. So the one who comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is quicker at rescuing him from his misfortune by way of his mercy and his generosity and his lofty attributes that benefit the servant. Of course, this should never be understood as literal in terms of movement, rest, location, direction, being close to, in terms of proximity, physical proximity. All of these things are negated about Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Is this point clear? For everyone, it should be, but let's make sure. Does everyone understand this? So, let's write this as a rule. Anytime we read a verse of the Quran or a hadith, the apparent wording seems to suggest any bodily attribute or characteristic. This is negated about Allah and his attribute, and the meaning is other than what is literally we're imagining. That doesn't mean make your own meaning. It means just what I said. What you literally are imagining, Allahu Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is different from that. Even if you don't know the literal meaning. I mean, the meaning that is intended. So Imam Shafi'i, in this regard, he said, I believe in Allah and what he revealed as he intended. And I believe in the messenger of Allah and what he conveyed as he intended. You notice some key words that Imam Shafi'i said, who died in the year 204 after Hijrah. He said, I believe in Allah and what Allah revealed as he intended. And I believe in the messenger of Allah and what he conveyed as he intended. In other words, not as I imagine. Even if I don't know the reality of what Allah intended by this, I know he is free from resembling his creation in any way, so I don't attribute non-befitting attributes to Allah while reciting the text, accepting the text as it has come without attributing to Allah non-befitting attributes. That's simple. Is this fully understood by us? So it entails no negation. Rather, it admits our inability to understand the reality of Allah wa ta'ala while maintaining Allah's divine transcendence above created things. Simple. Mm, go ahead. So all of these translations, you're going to find some things here that if you literally translate it, it's going to sound anthropomorphic. And therefore, this point needs to be understood. Go ahead.
And that his heart, the heart of the believer, contains his nobility and grandeur. So the intellect directs itself to him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, with its all and cuts itself off from everything that takes from its strength. When this is done, Allah Ta'ala pours out to him divine knowledge from his light and makes him realize through divine witnessing and theophany that no world can encompass Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, nor can any world reject him. For this reason, Allah Ta'ala the Exalted said, Indeed, in that, Surah Qaf, Ayah 37, pointing to the knowledge of Allah Ta'ala by way of witnessing, is a reminder for he who possesses a heart. He did not mention any other power or strength, such as the strength of the intellect, that will cause the slave to reach his Lord. The heart is known for its constant turning and changing according to the conditions it is in, just as it does not stay in one state for long. Similarly, the divine theophanies change. He who does not witness the divine theophanies with his heart will most certainly reject them with his rational mind.
When we
For
can
the
say that at tajalliyat, you can say Allah's majestic downpouring, right? Manifestations. So these spiritual manifestations that happen on the heart of the servant is expressed by saying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's tajalliyat. It's hard to explain because it's not a physical concept, right? It's very hard to explain. So it's these special manifestations that Allah allows to appear upon the heart of the servant. So you have removing those bad characteristics, adorning yourself with praiseworthy characteristics, and then you have these divine manifestations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on your heart. So spiritual realities become witnessed by way of that. Does it somewhat come to your understanding what I'm talking about? I know not the full concept, but these are the processes. That's what is meant by that. But that's an experiential thing, not something that you learn. It has to be experienced. It's not something that you can really explain. Mm.
For the
By the
rational
way, I know nothing about it, so that even makes it harder, more difficult, right? Subhanallah. May Allah grant us some spiritual realities.
For the rational mind binds and controls man's other strengths, save that of the heart, for it is not bound by anything and is ever quick to change in every state. For this reason, the lawgiver said, The
The
heart,
lawgiver, meaning the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
the lawgiver, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, The hearts are between the two fingers of the most merciful who
So
turns them.
asba'ain min asabi ar-Rahman, that is an expression to say the heart is under the control of Allah. It doesn't literally mean Allah has two fingers and limbs and organs. It's an expression to indicate that the heart is under the control of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Now,
The hearts are between the two fingers of the most merciful, who turns them as he wills.
so what is understood from that expression is that the heart is under the control of Allah. He turns it as He wills. That expression is figurative to indicate that meaning. Is that clear? And the translation could be better if you would just say that the heart is under the control of Allah and He turns it as He wills. That's what is intended by that expression in Arabic. But it does not entail that Allah has attributes called fingers. Subhanallah. And our great scholars of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah have never understood that. Naam.
Hence, the
So
heart.
you see the danger in translation. I mentioned this last night on the round table. When we translate, you're going to have deficiency. It's going to happen. Especially if the person translating is not conscious of deviant creed and ideology. Let me make a point here. I was thinking about this. Could everyone tell me, quick, 1 second, this is important, because we had this on the round table. This is a question I would like all of you to answer. What is a tafweed? I want to see your answers, please. In Aqidah, we say a tafweed. What is that? Please tell me. I'm getting ready to teach you something that you're going to benefit from. What is a tafweed? We just covered this. We've been talking about it so much. Come on, it should be. I know there's a delay, but please tell me what a tafweed is. Feel free to jump in. Okay. Okay, Abdurrahim. Okay, Anissa. If I translate a term, is that tafweed? Right. Good, Sister Khadijah. Good, Brother Habib. Once you translate, that's no longer tafweed. Once you translate outside of the Arabic language, that's no longer tafweed. You have assigned a meaning. That's not tafweed. So tafweed is to recite it as Allah revealed it, or as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, and full stop. Nothing else. That's tafweed. While, of course, at the heart level, understanding that Allah is not like his creation. I know, even if you don't, listen, we don't know Arabic, so that's a given. But the concept we need to understand, right? And if you do tafweed, will you ever say Allah has a hand in English? Will you ever say Allah descends? Will you ever say Allah has fingers, a shin, a face? If you do a tafweed, will you ever say that? No. You will never say that. Why? Because you understand it is as Allah said. You recite it as Allah revealed it, and you remain silent. That's it, full stop. Once you add a word in Arabic or English or any other language, you have made an interpretation. There's a big difference in the two. So even if you don't know Arabic, if you understand that concept, you're at the heart level, because of your deficiency, you don't know Arabic. So you don't know what the Arabic words is. But when you see those non-befitting translations, you know the correct creed, you already know that what that translation is indicating is not befitting of Allah Ta'ala, while at the same time affirming whatever the Prophet ﷺ said is true, and what Allah Ta'ala revealed is true, but not as this unbefitting or non-befitting translation indicates. Is this easy, right? When you think about it. So even if you learn Arabic, you're still going to do the same thing. You just actually know the Arabic word. It's the same concept. You just know it in Arabic, but it's the same thing. Now, okay, go ahead. So in all of these verses in Hadith, this concept needs to be applied to us. We need to understand it. We don't have to always make figurative interpretation. You just have to learn that Allah is clear of non-befitting attributes. Any of those attributes that entail bodily characteristics or any resemblance to the creation are negated about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as in anything that Allah revealed, Allah Ta'ala revealed, and the Prophet ﷺ conveyed, there is no resemblance to Allah in his creation or physical attributes. Simple. According to the verse, Laysa kamithlihi shay. And in another way, physicality or physical characteristic attributes are all created. So the creator cannot be attributed with them. Some people don't know Arabic, so they can't recite in Arabic. So they're stuck with a translation. So they have to have an understanding. They don't know Arabic. Not everyone's going to learn Arabic. And some are not going to be proficient in Arabic. It's still the same concept. No matter what language you got it, you say it and it's the same. Not everyone's going to learn Arabic. Let's get that in our mind. That's not going to happen. Some people are going to leave this world while not knowing Arabic. That's not a condition to believe in Allah properly, that you know Arabic. You do realize that, right? It's not a condition to believe in Allah properly that you know the Arabic language. It's not a condition. So you may never know how to recite it in Arabic. But if you believe correctly, you understand correctly, that's the objective. You don't have to be an Arab to have the correct belief in Islam. You don't have to speak Arabic to have the correct belief in Islam. It's not a condition. Is this point clear? Okay, good. I just need this to get, because we had this long discussion yesterday, and it's quite confusing for many of us. So we have to get the correct belief in our minds. And that's going to take time. It's going to be something that has to be reiterated, reinforced, explained over and over again till it becomes natural. We have to get rid of these anthropomorphic ideas that is in our minds. And we don't realize they're there, but they're there. And it's really difficult when all your life you've been exposed to imagery in every aspect of life, in religion, in just your regular life, in spirituality. Everything is physical. That has some relation to the senses, sensory. That's a problem, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no relation to your senses whatsoever. But we're used to, sensory perception. And it takes a long time for people to even get the concept. Go ahead.
Hence, the heart's turn as the theophany's turn, whereas this is not the case with the intellect. The heart, therefore, is the force of strength beyond the intellect. Had the real Allah Ta'ala meant by the word heart in this Quranic verse that it is the intellect, he would not have said, for he who possesses a heart. For indeed, every human has an intellect. However, not every human is given powers beyond the faculty of the rational mind, which in this Quranic verse is called a heart. For this reason, he said, for he who possesses a heart. Responding to some misconceptions about spiritual struggle. Some might say the Sufis forbid the good things and the delights that Allah Ta'ala has made.
This word is translated as misconceptions, misgivings, right? Shubha, shubhat. It's a very important concept that we need to understand. Can everyone repost that word? Copy and paste. I want you to put this in your vocabulary. I need to explain it. Can we copy that term? I need it. It needs to stay in your vocabulary. It's very important, especially with most of the stuff we're talking about. I put it up. Shubuhat. just put it up because I wanted to stick in you, right? All right. This term, it has a variety of meanings. What is intended, there is something that exists. And because of its existence, it gives you a misunderstanding or misgiving of a matter. And it has you sort of confused, right? And because of it, you may misunderstand things. And you may not know how to move or how to approach the thing because of it. So, for instance, we all know that Allah is not like his creation. But because you have these verses that the apparent wording, wa alaikum salam, could lead the untrained mind to misunderstand, and they would think something from these verses or these hadith that are not correct. Those are called shubuhat. Do you understand? So when scholars, I'm not talking about people who are playing scholars, when they see these shubuhat, oftentimes they excuse the necessary outcome of those until those shubuhat are explained and clarified. Do y'all follow what I mean? Tell me if you don't understand what I'm talking about. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, say, I don't understand. Maybe I'm not explaining it clearly enough. Okay. So let's take what Khadijah is mentioning, right? That's, for some people, causes them misunderstanding because they see translation of the word yed as hand, right? So now they disregard this literal translation. They stop at yed. Then she's saying, so you saying yet is figurative. No, I didn't say yet was figurative. I didn't say that. It has figurative meanings, but I didn't say it was figurative. Yet is yet, right? In relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it doesn't bear the same meaning as it does with the creation, so it's not anthropomorphic for the one who knows how to properly believe in Allah. But for the one who doesn't, it's going to present a shubha for that person. Do you understand my point? That person who doesn't understand the correct belief, that's going to cause misgivings for that person because they're going to be confused. You see how I just answered that? No, it's not figurative. It has a real meaning related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which he knows and we don't. It does have a real meaning. But it's nothing resembling created things. That's why we don't literally translate it. So it's not, doesn't have to be figurative. Do you follow? Doesn't have to be figurative. Because if it was figurative, you're going to give another meaning in the language besides its apparent meaning that comes to the mind when you first hear the word. That's figurative. I'm not saying you have to make figurative at all. Do you follow? No. See, we missing. I'm glad we're having this conversation. So, Hafsa, that's wrong. You cannot use that analogy. Why? Because foot for a person is a created physical reality. Foot for the bed is a physical reality. We cannot use none of those physical realities to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's not the same analogy. It's not befitting. Because the foot of a person, let me make it even clearer, it is similar to the foot of a bed. How? It has a depth, it has a width, it has a length, it has a size, it has a location, it is in a direction. It exists within time and space. So it's the same. Even though it's not exactly the same, it shares these created attributes. Do you understand? None of that applies to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all. Now, is it clear? Make sure you're with me. So, because of these things, you're going to get these insinuations, false insinuations from it. That's shubuhat. They need to be cleared up. It's a misunderstanding. But sometimes people are afflicted with them. They didn't just come out the sky. They don't understand how to join between these things. Do y'all follow? That's something, a concept you need to understand, because a lot of people have that problem. They are thought in their mind, if I don't say Allah has a hand or a foot, wal-iyadhu billah, I'm denying the Quran and I'm denying the authentic hadith. And that is not true. That is not true at all. You see the false insinuation, how it is given to someone? Change that, Imari, that's true. But go one step further. Allah doesn't have created attributes. Do y'all understand? This is very important. I mean, I never realized how deep this issue is until you really start talking to people and realize that they don't understand. So don't just say human, created. Allah does not have created attributes, and everything of Allah other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is created. So we don't ascribe to Allah the attributes of created things. Do y'all follow this? It has no negation whatsoever. None whatsoever, except negating non-befitting attributes to the Creator, who existed before the creation with his self, with his attributes and his actions. And after creating the creation, he didn't gain no attributes. Do y'all follow? And where your shubha comes from, those deviant people telling you that you must literally believe these things about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's your shubha. That's where you get all this confusion from. It's not true. It's not correct. but it causes confusion in your understanding. I hope I'm not like speaking above our heads, but it's very important that we understand this. Are y'all following me? Let me stop here. Where are we at? Dang, we got a long way to go.
Page 105.
Where did you stop at?
The next section responding to some misconceptions.
Oh yeah, let's stop there. Because I want to make sure people understand me. I've discovered people listening, they don't understand me. Instead of asking me, they start making up their own stuff. Why don't you just ask me? Stop putting words in my mouth. I didn't say that. Or just say you don't understand my speech and let me explain it. Stop putting words in my mouth. I didn't say that. You said that. Okay. Let me take the questions. First one. Let me ask you something. Do you mind if I highlight your words so that everyone can see what I'm talking about? Or does that bother some people? Please answer that question. If I put you up, I know it doesn't bother Khadijah, so she doesn't mind. She's looking for a fight, right? If I do that, does it bother anyone? I mean, you put it up. All I did is put it up so people can see what I'm talking about. Because I don't want people to get all mushy and defensive. I ain't trying to harm you. I'm trying to help you. Right? Okay. And if sometimes if I put your comment up, I'm not trying to embarrass you. I'm just highlighting. And listen, please, if you're going to listen to me, get used to my way of expression. It is who I am. I don't know how to change. I try. I'm a straight shooter. I speak my mind. Even when I'm trying to think and watch what I say, I just go. This just me. I don't have that. I don't have the ability to be all sensitive and mushy. That's not my style. As a person, I come from the steel sharpened steel. It is what it is, man. Not saying that's the best way. That's all I grew up. I grew up in the hood. That's how we talk. We just straight at it, Anyway, so let me answer the question. So if I put you up, I'm not trying to embarrass you. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just making sure everyone sees what I'm talking about. So when you gave the example of the heart being between the finger, I don't like to say that, right? But I understand you reading the translation. So that expression in its literal translation, the first meaning that would come to your word is the word finger, right? The two fingers of the fingers. That's not the intended meaning. That's a physical translation. I mean, that's an apparent, literal first thing come to your translation. But when one understood what is intended by that particular expression, one would understand it is a figurative meaning, not literal, as in terms that Allah has fingers, right? So in that case, that doesn't mean in every case. Some things you have to know Arabic language to see how things are used. Not every single thing that is used for Allah isn't used as an attribute. Sometimes it's used to express an idea. Do you understand this concept? Not everything that is attributed to Allah is meant as an attribute of Him. Sometimes it's by way of expression. So when you say Baytullah, you don't mean that Allah lives in some house, in the Kaaba, or in the masjid. It's an expression to show that that place is honored by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, not as His house. So when we say the house of Allah, I hope none of y'all think that Allah lives there. That's where he resides, which is blasphemous. It's understood, it's an expression of honoring and nobility of the place. Baytullah, it is tashrif. Y'all follow me? So Naqatullah, the she camel of Allah, this doesn't mean that Allah rides a she camel. It means that that camel is honored by Allah. Do you understand? And that's in Arabic language. And if we go to another level, which we have a lot of levels to go to, we're not exposed. And that helps these shubuhat. Because we're not exposed, they come easily. And we have to be patient with that because we don't have access. Some of this stuff is like just basic 101 Islam, but we don't even have basic textbooks. So the books that we have are telling us these bad things. If you follow what I'm saying. I don't know. Sometimes it seems like it's, and for someone who doesn't understand our backgrounds, our society, our environment, our ways of expression, they're always going to be falling short in trying to clarify things for us because they don't understand. That's why some of the scholars said, he who judges a people without understanding their circumstances and conditions is a criminal. He who judges a people without understanding their circumstances and conditions is a criminal. So you got to take into consideration when you're talking to somebody, all this other background noise that you're not listening to that is playing loud. Do y'all follow me? So you understand? Not every expression that is mentioned in the Quran and Hadith in relation to Allah means it's His attributes. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's just the language. And that's the level of learning through qualified scholarship how to distinguish between the two. That's a process. You're not going to get that on your own. Right? I was explaining last night, this concept to one of my family members. In our culture, I'm going to take you down, Khadijah, because I got to go to Abdul Wali. I get to give him a punch in the stomach. I can't wait. All right, this is an exception to my general rule, right? You know, I said, don't look forward to, somebody's mistakes, except Abdul Wali. No, I'm joking. I'm just joking. I love Abdul Wali. It's my buddy. That is my right-hand man's, right? And I hope Allah make him extremely successful as the Ustad. And I hope we support him. And I hope he stays focused and he reaches all his objectives. I really, really do. Can we all say Ameen, inshallah? May Allah give this brother success. I love him so much. The point, reader, if you need to go, I'm in scattered thoughts now. May Allah reward you for your excellent reading. In our language, in English, especially in our inner city language, we use terms all kinds of ways, right? And for us, it's like the first meaning that comes to us when we talk. So if I said, I was listening to this new album and that joint was hot, we all understand what that means. I said, I was listening to this new album and that joint was hot. Everyone understands what I'm talking about, who speaks our dialect, our cultural vocabulary that we made for ourselves that may not even have a meaning at all in the original language. in English dictionary, that may not even be a meaning at all. But for us, it is the meaning. We understand it automatically when the word is used, in the context it's used, right? Do y'all follow that? So that's us. That's hot. That's fire, right? It's banging. We understand something automatically. There's no need to even think about it. We know the meaning, right? Y'all follow? We all understand that, right? Right. We understand all of these things. In the language, they have no meaning what we use them for. In the original English language, they don't have that meaning at all. It's not one of the listed meanings. But it's well understood when we talk, right? Every language has that. So in Arabic, for the Arabs at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, certain expressions were already understood within the context of the language and the environment. Do you follow what I mean? When we're talking, we're totally outside of context and environment. And therefore, you misunderstand easy concepts in that environment would have been easy to know. Do y'all follow? Every language has that. And the Arabic language is one of the richest languages on the face of the earth. So it has multiple meanings. As to one of the Arabic linguists, a man came to him and called him a dog. He said, "Oh, kalb, yeah, kalb, you dog." And he responded to that person by saying the dog is the one who doesn't know 500 words for dog. He responded by saying the dog is the one who doesn't know 500 words for dog. You see how rich the Arabic language is? Right? So keep that in mind. There are many shades to meanings that we may not understand. So we don't need to rush. Sometimes for us, a tafweed is the best. In fact, especially till we get out of this condition. We don't need to go to ta'wil. We need to get the concept of a tafweed, leaving the meaning to Allah and maintaining His divine transcendence. We need to get that concept bad, especially in our communities. I can't speak for someone else. I'm speaking for us. I can speak from us because I'm from us. And I know our mindset. I know how we think. I know our issues. I'm from us. I understand. Right? Is this point clear? All right. Is it possible that some of us do understand, but the more you explain can make one doubt their understanding? No. If you understand, then you won't, it'll make it more clear. It's impossible that you understand and then I explain and you start to doubt. That means you never understood in the first place. It's not possible. Because if you understand the concept, the more I explain, it's only going to make that concept more clear. If you understand. Do you follow my point? If you understand that Allah does not resemble His creation, let's take that as a base. Allah does not resemble His creation in any way, right? Let's take that as a foundation. Do we all understand that? I'm going to show you, Abdul Wali. Do we all understand that Allah does not resemble His creation in any way whatsoever, right? I'm going to show you. Is that clear for everyone? Please answer me. It's a lot of y'all. Answer, inshallah. Is it clear? Okay. That's the rule. I'm going to add to that. Allah does not resemble his creation. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is different from that. That's further clarifying the first point. Allah does not resemble his creation in any way. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is different from that. Okay. Has the second statement added clarity to the first statement or made it more confusion? I gave you the first statement. Allah does not resemble his creation in any way. Second statement, explanation. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is different from that. Did the second statement confuse the first one or added clarity to the first one? Which one? I want to know. Like, answer me, inshallah. The first statement, Allah does not resemble anything in creation. Number two, whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is completely different from that. Did it add clarity or make it confusing? Number three, whatever you imagine in your mind is a creation. Number one, Allah does not resemble anything in creation. Number two, whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is different from that. Number three, whatever you imagine is a creation. Did it get clearer and clearer and clearer? Only because you understood the first part. If you never understood the first part, you're going to get confused. Number four, Allah mentioned in the Quran attributes like yad, like al-istiwa, like al-ain, right? All of those, like al-wajh, all of those words in Arabic are different from whatever you imagine when those words are used for created things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran use words like yad, like ayn, like wajh, right? All of those words, when applied to Allah, have no resemblance to anything in creation. Did that get confusing? Or it got clear from all those points? So I reached the Quran. I gave you words that are used in the Quran that apply to Allah. And those same words are applied to creation. When they're applied to Allah, the meaning is totally different. Right? Let me go to the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ in the hadith used words like nuzul, yanzilu, right? Like wajh, like yad. And in the prophetic speech, those words exist in relation to Allah. They do not resemble the meanings that are applied when those words are used for created things. How clear can we get? Is that clear? That shouldn't, every step, because you understood the beginning, becomes clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer. That's it. Was that confusing for anyone? I just gave you a bunch of steps. I got all the way to the Quran and all the way to the Hadith, and I showed you all of this. All of this is understood from one verse in the Quran and other verses like it. Laysa kamithlihi shay. Nothing resembles him. So I took you from the beginning, took you to steps, took you back to the beginning. Is it confusing? Now you understand why I said it's impossible if you understood from the beginning? It only becomes confusing when you never understood the first part. When the first part was confusing in the beginning, that's where the problem is. And that's what I've begun to understand. So, good question. Why do I think some of us don't understand? Because I don't think we're paying attention well. And I think we need to fix that part. We're not paying attention well, and we're not reviewing. And some of us are afraid to ask questions when we have these shubuhat. Some of us are afraid to ask questions when we have those shubuhat, and we don't push till we get rid of them. We keep them while saying we understand. But really, you have all these shubuhat that need to be fixed. They need to be corrected. And that's why the scholars said that ilm al-kalam, the science of theology, you don't have to learn it unless you have these shubuhat, and you only learn enough to remove it. Do you see why ilm al-kalam becomes necessary, Habibi? It's only when you have these shubuhat, right? Until you get rid of them, you have to go learn. The amount necessary to remove those false insinuations, these misgivings that you have, based on something that you misunderstood because you didn't understand the primary foundation. Anything else is you're going to tell me Allah is like the creation. I mean, I don't know how you're going to explain that one. Right? It doesn't make sense. Textually or intellectually, it doesn't make sense. Aqli or naqli, that don't make any sense. That Allah is like his creation. Doesn't make sense. And these are my thoughts. I mean, I'm talking about as to why people misunderstand. It could be other reasons that I don't know about. But some obvious ones exist for me. Because if you wrote well, you recorded well, you understood well, I don't see how you have these problems. So somewhere is missing. Either you're not listening well, you're not recording well, you're not memorizing well. And then there could also be the one, may Allah protect us, that you don't have the ability to process information well because of an intellectual deficiency. That could exist. And that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Everybody's not at the same intellectual level. So some things you just can't understand concepts, distractions, all of those may play a part. But it's not that the information is not clear, because we just went through it and it's clear. And if you keep repeating that, it's going to stick in your mind. All right, let me go up because there were a few other questions. I don't mind you asking me. Let's go for it. I mean, we have time. I have time. As I said, I got time today. I have a little time. There was, let me go back to that question. Where's Wally at? That's funny. Okay. That's learning, sister. That's going to be learning through our scholars, of the known scholars of the religion, the known texts of transmission in the religion, chains of narration, the majority of the Muslim nation, which Arabic language, that's learning. There's no express lane for that. We have to actually learn. And then you're gonna have to learn Arabic language, then what the scholars said and how they said and their evidences, and why that's study. So there's no shortcut for that. So we're not going to shortcut that process. We can't, right? That's just learning our religion. And that's going to take time. Learning a book with a trustworthy teacher, then learning another book, then learning books in different Arabic, sciences of Arabic, sciences of Quran, sciences of Hadith, explanations. All that stuff is going to be coming to answer that question. It's not a just simple like this, like that. It doesn't work that way. Because you have to actually know how Arabs use their words. So that means knowing their language, and then knowing how they use it in specific times, what the scholars of tafsir, of Quranic exegesis said, what the commentators of hadith said, what the scholars of the creed said. All of that got to be taken into consideration. So that's not an easy 1-2 punch thing. It doesn't work that way. Okay. Just going down to see if I miss any questions. This is not easy, but we have to do it. Like, we have to get these things clear. By worshiping him as he commanded, that's how you interact with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there is no createdness in terms from Allah's side to us. From us, we are created and we have limitations. From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, any attribute of creation does not relate to him. So there's no physicality related to that, right? Anything that's attributes of the creation that don't apply to Allah. Simple. So you cannot know the reality of Allah, don't even try. Knowing that you cannot know the reality of Allah is knowledge in itself. Okay. Okay. So is it therefore that words and phrases are analogous just so we understand the concept or message being conveyed? It can bear that meaning. So let's say this. When it comes to language, that's the mode of expression, right? Language. Language has its limitations. So whenever you find words that are used for the creation and used for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in general, you know that the meaning that entails a created attribute of that word cannot be applied to the creator. It has a different meaning. Sometimes we're able to know by indication, by some other context, the meaning of that word in that context, and sometimes we cannot fully understand, right? Sometimes, because of the context, you can understand the meaning, and sometimes you can't. But in all times, you know Allah doesn't resemble his creation. And at that point, you affirm the wording and you leave the meaning to Allah. Simple. But we shouldn't do that. That should be done at the level of scholarship who have more information to see the various ways things can be interpreted. That's not our level. I know some groups told us we can just follow Quran and Sunnah. That's a fallacy. If you just follow Quran and Sunnah on your own without no support, you're going to go astray. You're going to come up with some of the strangest things that are not even Islamic. I know they told us that. Just go read the Quran and Hadith on your own. You don't need nobody. You can just, no, you're going to go astray. Trust me. There's too many tools in the toolbox that you're missing to go do that. Don't do that. You need to follow qualified scholarship. And qualified scholarship is within the methodology of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. The Ash'aris, the Maturidis in Creed, the Hanafis, Malikis, Shafis, Hanbalis in Fiqh, and the people of Tasawwuf. You need to stick with that with an unbroken chain of narration. All right, I'm almost down to the end, I think. Okay. Khadija, very simple. You learn the rule, you apply it. You learn the rule, you can apply it to that. The hadith that mentions if we go toward Allah, Allah would run to us. Run is an action of creation, not befitting of Allah. It's simple. You already understand that. So that word in Arabic has a meaning other than that meaning that relates to creation that we apply to Allah. Simple. And if you don't know that meaning, you don't make it up yourself. You say Allah attributed this to himself and it has a meaning befitting of Allah. Or you go to the commentaries because they're going to explain it, but you have to actually have access. No one's, we learning, Imari. I don't consider none of us stupid. I think we just don't know and we don't have access and you have to work what you have to work with. I don't think we're stupid at all. I think we're very intelligent. And once we get it, we'll show our intelligence. But the process of getting it, listen, it's been intentional not to give it to us. Trust me, I'm convinced. It's been intentional to limit our access to Islamic knowledge. I'm convinced of that. That's been an intentional program to make sure African Americans don't get it. That's intentional. It's clear. Now, always there's some people who break through, but it's clear for me. And it's frustrating, but it's clear. And I've ran out of a good opinion in that one. They don't want us to have it. And I go back to my Public Enemy days, fear of a black planet. Like, honestly, that's my opinion. And I can support my opinion. I will defend my opinion with anyone. My opinion in that, I'm willing to defend it. I could prove it. And we've been trying to prove that point for our whole surgeon here in America, that we've been treated unfairly. I could prove it today. Listen, the fact that it's rare to hear what I'm talking about is a proof. The fact that it's rare. Let me ask you a question. Let me not think and not let me have any source of arrogance. Are there a bunch of African Americans talking like I'm talking about these subjects? Huh? Because I'm missing them if they are. Online, regular, we can just have free access. Are there a bunch of brothers and sisters talking like this? I may not be good with the internet and I'm missing it. These matters that I'm talking about, do you find a bunch of black people talking about them? Explaining them, making them clear? Right? So now, wait a minute. All of us said no. So we all on the internet, and some of you are more on the internet than me, right? So I'm not saying I have comprehensive knowledge of what's going on the internet. I don't. But I think all of us collectively, if it was somebody out there doing it, we would know them, right? And I'm a hardcore Sunni. So if it was someone out there doing it, I'd be connected to them, most likely, especially in America, because I know the people. But do you realize I'm not the only one who believes this stuff? This is the common belief of the majority of the Muslim nation. So it's not like what I'm saying is strange. Everyone who studied in the traditional way, who's not a Wahhabi, has this belief. Every single person. Right? So if they, see, I don't like to name call, right? Because people can't take it. I know a bunch of people who could come in here and they won't disagree with one thing I said, but they won't say it themselves. Not publicly, not straight up. I know a bunch of people, African Americans, who I could bring on this platform and they won't disagree with one of these creedal things that I mentioned, but they won't say it themselves publicly. So why? Because we got all kinds of reasons why we just won't tell the truth. This is not crazy. This is not strange. I'm not making something up. This is normative Islam. Everyone knows this, right? But how come for us, it's so confusing? This is normal. Around every book, all hundreds of thousands of books and scholars have said the same stuff. It's not new. Every generation of Muslims. It's not something strange. But for us, it's like, wow, I never heard that. Shouldn't that tell you something? All these years we've been Muslim and we just hearing basic Islamic concepts. Shouldn't that tell you there's a conspiracy going on here? Really, shouldn't that tell you there's a serious conspiracy going on right here? If this is common knowledge, kids around the world, by the time they in preschool or elementary school, learn this thing by heart. All around the world, they learn these things, memorize them, made them in poems, made them in songs. They memorize this stuff as kids. Preschool, kindergarten, first grade, third grade, second grade. In the school system around the Islamic world, all the kids know this stuff. They memorize books with this stuff. It's not something strange. I'm not coming up with something special. This is basic stuff that we all supposed to know. So if that's the case and we don't know it, what would you deduce from that? That is the reality, right? And we don't know it. So what's to deduce from that? Except somebody don't want us to know it because it's readily available. It's all over the place. That must tell you it's some conspiracy for us. That's obvious. And if we don't forget our history, this ain't the first time people conspired against us to put us down, to destroy us, to harm us. This is not the first time in history that happened. We just study our history. This is normal, right? And we have to fight, overcome oppression, access, and we have to do all that. It ain't changed. It's the same thing, except that we went back to sleep. We forgot our struggle. And we just became a bunch of parrots. Not every single individual. I'm talking about collectively, we don't study, we don't research, we don't examine, we don't critically think. We just bah. And that's why we keep staying in the state we are. We have to have a revolution. I don't know another way to say it. We as Black Muslims need a revolution. We do. We have to overthrow the system. It's not working for us. It's harming us. I hate to say it. No, I don't. We do. It don't got to be violent, but it needs to be reformed big time. The whole thing needs to be flipped over and fixed. And we need a seat at the table. But we have to do what we need to do to get there. I'm not qualified, but I know the route. We have to work hard to qualify people so that they would sit at the table and they can actually have a real discussion with the rest of the world. Where we at right now, we're not there. We're not. We don't know enough. But we have access. Now we have to sacrifice to produce those who can actually sit at the table. But we need to make the route so that they can get to the table. Because if we keep doing what we're doing, then even if they're qualified, they're not going to get at the table. Forget about it. Barakallahu fiki, Fatima. I mean, but do you get my point without going? And when I say that, I definitely don't mean a violence. I don't mean that. I mean, we need to change the system. We need access. And it shouldn't be something we have to hoot and holler to get it. It should be natural. People should want us to be guided, right? Okay, that's a good. Let me either. What would be the qualifications? Y'all ready? Write this down. Right? Y'all ready? I'm gonna just give you some. Number one, first thing on the list is mastery of the Arabic language, which I don't have. That's number one. Write that down. That's number one. Mastery of the Arabic language. You can't be mediocre to do this job. You need mastery, expertise. I don't have that. So I'm out. And most of us don't have that, so we out. So there needs to be severe work in the Arabic language in our communities. That's a big problem. That's one. You ready? Unbroken chains of teachers of the religious sciences. Number two. I'm telling you keys that we need. And they're not necessarily, I'm putting them in because they all come, they're necessary tools for certain other things. So I'm giving you these necessary tools, right? An unbroken chain of trustworthy teachers in the Islamic sciences, more than one. Sciences, at least 12 of them. And I'm not going to mention all of them. At least 12 sciences. We need teachers in each of them with an unbroken chain. But I'm not going to name all of them. So just for instance. Number two, advanced level understanding of al-aqidah, fiqh, and tasawwuf. Advanced level understanding of aqidah, fiqh, and tasawwuf. Let's stop with those three. Until we get that, we're not sitting at the table. Forget about it. We ain't getting nowhere near the table except to serve the coffee and tea. I just gave you three, and there's more. But I'm saying if we just stop at those three, and then we could go, let's add four. Let me add four. One more. Y'all ready? And advanced studies of the other sciences, the other essential religious sciences, number four. Besides Aqidah, fiqh, and so there are some other sciences we need, and we need advanced studies in those. So advanced science and the other essential Islamic sciences. Add that number four. Without all that, we're not even getting at the table, which I don't have. I know what they are, I know what it looks like, but I don't have it. I know what it looks like. I know what it is. I know how to go get it. I'm sorry, I'm too old. I can't do it. I don't have the ability. And I'll have no problem saying I don't have the ability. But I know we need to train people to have that ability, and I can help in that. Right? I don't have it. The one who doesn't have a thing can't give it. I don't have it. Sorry, can't help you. But I do know how to do it. I do know what it takes. I do know where you can get it. I know what's needed to do it. I have all the tools to help you do it. I just can't do it. Nah, we talking about religion only right now. The business and that's secondary stuff. Right now, I'm just talking about religiously, to get at the religious table. Now, the other things are necessary for a collective growth as a people. But I'm talking about to get at that religious table, I would say what age we need to start our children in this process by the age of 5, no later than 10. They need to be on that road. When you get in your 20s, you're pushing it to do all of this. Especially if you get married, you can forget about it almost. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? This is going to be quite challenging. I think we don't know what we're up against. Because the rest of the world, that's what they do. It's going to take a lot of work. It's not easy. Not at all. No one said it would be. And we have to be honest. You heard what I said. I'm not qualified. I can't do it. I can't. I'm too old, got too many responsibilities. I can't do it. My mind doesn't even work like that no more. I'm too old. That doesn't mean my children can't do it. That just means me. And I have to help them. I have to prepare the way. I have to lay the foundation. I have to plant the seeds. I have to do my part. I still have a part to do. It's just not that part. Right? That's what we have to see. It don't have to be about us. I'm not qualified, but the next one can be. I can show you how to do it. How do we function in the meantime? Just what we're doing. We're learning. We're learning. We're adding tools. We're doing what we can do. And then we're preparing the next generation. And that's where that education and business, all that stuff kick in. That's what we need to be doing in the meantime. That's what the African American Islamic Summit is about. Let me put it up. That's how we're going to get it. We have to think beyond ourselves. We're too selfish. We got to work on that. If I ain't benefiting immediately, it ain't worth doing. You had children, you have grandchildren, you have friends and family. It's your responsibility to prepare a better future for them. Even if you don't live to see it, it's your job. You have to do it. You can't ignore, you make children, you make family, you do all that, and you ignore them because you didn't get the immediate benefit. Who does that? No one with intellect. You have a responsibility to those who you brought in the world. You have to make it better for them, even if you never taste it. So we have a function. We're doing it right now. We just have to do it better and more of it. So the summit is to bring all those minds together. I'll give you an example. You see all them people that's on this flyer? Imam Talib, Imam Fahim, Imam Naim, Sheikha Aisha Pram, Imam Sulaiman, Maulana Muawiyah, Imam Dawood Walid, Sheikh Abdul Karim, Sister Sabria Mills, and others who, all of us have the same belief. Everything I'm saying in terms of belief, they have the same belief. They are Ash'ari, they all follow a school, they all believe in the validity of Tasawwuf. Maybe we're not at the same level of education, all of us, but all of us generally have the same belief, right? So I'm not alone. It's not just me. They might not express the way I express. They may not talk the way I talk, but the belief is the same. If we sat sectors and we start, ain't no one going to differ. Now, how we go about it may be different, but no one's going to differ in these issues, at least that I know of, right? And what I mentioned, no one's going to differ about that because all of us understand these things. So it's not something strange. But the problem is we haven't been granted access. We need access. That's all we need is access. And let's work together to get it. People don't want to give it to us. I don't like it as the case, but it is. That's why we're underfunded. That's why we're not supported. And that's why, because if we had the funding, we had the support, we could do it ourselves, right? We have the qualifications to start the process, right? But we have to believe in ourselves. No one's going to do what you won't willing to do for yourself. Right? We have to do it ourselves. And we need to be able to support ourselves to do that. So what Habib Salam, I think that was, mentioned that the business and education, all that stuff is important as a part of the puzzle for us to do all this stuff. We need industry. We need institutions in our community that were built for us, that have us in mind, that keeps our concerns at the forefront. Everyone has that except us as a general rule. I'm not saying we don't have anything, we do. But as a general normal practice, like you go around in every state, you find a school, don't you? You expect that. That's normal. In the world, do you go to any place and you don't expect to find a school? You don't expect to find a hospital. You don't expect to find a grocery store. There's certain things that's just natural, right? That needs to be the same way in our Muslim communities. You shouldn't go to a place where there's no Sunnis. There's no Ahl Sunnah. There's no books being taught. There's no scholarly learning. There's no chains of transmission. There's no tasawwuf. That doesn't exist. That's a deficiency. And we have to work till that deficiency is removed. Those voids are filled. We should be able to go to every state and find this regular. That's our mission. That's what we have to do. Everywhere we go, there's Sunni Muslims. There are Asha'ira and Maturidiyya, Hanafis, Malikis, Shafi'is, Hanbalis, Sufis, and all of the books are being taught with chains of narration. Wherever we go, there are different teachers. That's how it should be. That's not crazy. It should be the norm. But it's not. So we have to work to fix it. All right. I talked to you long enough. Do everyone get my point? That's just on the religious side. And the same thing needs to be in secular education, in business, entrepreneurship, companies, and every other thing we need as a people. We need what everyone else needs as a people. I don't know why that concept is so hard for us to get. We have such a slave mentality that we don't realize how bad it is. You deserve it. Everyone in the world has it. Why is for you is something different? It's natural. Everyone does it. Around the world, every people do it. Why for us it's such a challenge? We have to ask ourselves, why don't we feel we're worthy of having the same access and tools that the rest of the world have? Why for us it's got to be a double standard? Think about that. I mean, really, really think about it. Why is that a crime? And then people would tell us that, oh, you're being racist. I'm being racist. Come on, man. You're not racist because you do that for yourself. You tell me all about what y'all have achieved and what y'all have, and then we have nothing but to follow you. You didn't accept to follow us. Oh, Come on, man. Be fair. Be fair. And then on top of that, we're Muslims. So therefore, we're Muslims. We're a part of the Ummah. So our success is the success of the Ummah. Why you want to see us fail? Why you want to see us in a second-class citizen position? Why? We Muslim, just like you. Come on. Be fair. May Allah reward us all. Barakallah. I hope I'm clear. I hope my point is getting across. We have to help ourselves. And we have to advance. We cannot be like this 50 years from now. We have to be in a way better state. And it starts right now with us. We can't wait for tomorrow. It starts right now with us supporting our own initiatives, supporting our own institutions, building those institutions, developing those initiatives in all facets of life. Religious, worldly, we have work to do. It didn't get assassinated with Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz. The job that we have to do didn't get assassinated with Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz. It still lives on. After his death, rahimahullah, we still have the same exact job to do. Same stuff. It didn't change. So while we pray at his grave, let us live his vision. While we pray at his grave, we should do that. We should also live his vision. Barakallahu bikum. I'll go all day with this because I'm passionate about it. It means a lot to me. It is my life work. So excuse me if I extend too much talking about it. But to me, I'm going to keep talking about it until we actually do it. Until I can look around and go everywhere in the country and that void is filled, I'm going to keep talking until we get it. And I may die talking. Malcolm died talking. Hey, it is what it is. Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz died talking. And then the next generation have to keep going and keep going. He planted a seed. We have to make that seed grow into a tree and then to a garden, to a forest. Hey, we have to do our work. All right, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today is Wednesday. We're off. We get to relax. Barakallahu bikum. No, we don't get to relax. We get to study and review. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.